am not here to inspire you. I am here to confront you. Somewhere along the way, you built a religion out of a feeling. You knelt before it, prayed to it, waited for it like sunrise. You called it motivation. You decided that when it arrived, you would move. When it stayed, you would change. When it felt strong enough, you would finally become the person you keep describing in your head. You did not question this. You accepted it the way people accept gravity. Invisible, unquestioned, absolute. But tonight, something is wrong with your God. The altar is quiet. The fire doesn't answer. You stand inside your own skull and realize how ridiculous the arrangement has always been. You built your entire life on an emotion, on chemistry, on noise, on a spark that appears and vanishes without warning. An unstable storm you tried to treat as law. You told yourself, when I feel ready, I will act. When I feel strong, I will begin. But feelings do not sign contracts. They do not honor agreements. They rise, they crash. They leave you stranded in the middle of a life you keep saying you do not want, yet keep choosing every single day. Look around the ruins of your belief. Every abandoned plan, every half-built routine, every journal filled with new beginnings that died before the ink dried. This is not bad luck. This is architecture. You kept constructing staircases out of smoke and wondering why your foot kept falling through. You called yourself inconsistent. You called yourself lazy. You blamed circumstance, people, timing, destiny. But the truth is simpler, sharper. You surrendered your future to whatever emotion happened to pass through your chest that morning. You outsourced your identity to weather. You misunderstand what is breaking inside you right now. You think it is your hope. It isn't. Hope was never stable enough to break. What's cracking is older, deeper. It is the quiet belief that you will be saved by a feeling, that one day some perfect rush of energy will arrive and finally make everything easy, that you will wake up electric, focused, invincible, and from that day forward, effort will no longer taste like effort. That fantasy has been dying for years. Tonight, you are finally watching the body. Listen closely to the silence under your excuses. Hear the verdict hiding inside it. Motivation was never power. It was decoration. A brief chemical high, pretending to be destiny. You keep calling it a lack of motivation when you stall, when you quit, when you disappear from your own promises. But what you really lack is something far less glamorous and far more brutal. Something that does not care how you feel and does not ask for your agreement. the thing that remains when every emotion has walked out of the room. You stand at the edge of that realization now, one step away from admitting that your life is not collapsing by accident. It is collapsing exactly as it should when a person worships mood instead of truth. The decay you feel is not a tragedy. It is an autopsy. You are finally seeing the cause of death written in small, merciless letters. You built your existence on something that was never meant to hold weight. This is where the unraveling begins. Not with a scream, not with drama, with a simple, brutal sentence whispered in the back of your mind. Motivation was a lie, and you believed it. You've spent years worshipping the wrong king. You elevated comfort above evolution. You convinced yourself that ease was earned, that pleasure was progress, that stillness was peace. But comfort is a slow poison. It kills without pain. It buries you with a gentle hand. You told yourself you deserved rest. You told yourself you needed a break. You told yourself tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow arrived. You stayed the same. You sit in the prison you built. Soft walls, padded floor, and call it safety. You keep the door unlocked so you can pretend you're free, that you never leave. Because deep down, you know this truth. Comfort is not protection. It is sedation. It numbs the disgust you should feel when you look in the mirror. It puts your ambitions into a coma, then pulls the plug while you sleep. Comfort convinced you that growth should feel good. Comfort told you that consistency should come naturally. Comfort whispered that effort was punishment, and you believed every word. There is no violence here, no struggle, just decay, quiet, passive, elegant. Motivation was comfort's accomplice, the friendly face of your execution. It gave you energy just long enough to pretend change had begun. Then it stole the energy back, leaving you with nothing but guilt and a playlist of dreams on pause. You want the reward without the repetition. You want the results without the responsibility. You want the identity without the identity crisis required to earn it. This is why your life feels heavy. Not because you carry too much, but because everything you carry is dead. Decay is your ritual. Comfort is your coffin. And every day you line up to lie inside it. But listen, you can only bury yourself in softness for so long before the truth starts to rot through the fabric. The smell reaches you eventually, that stench of promises broken, standards lowered, potential wasted. It fills the room. It infects your thoughts. It becomes impossible to ignore. That discomfort you feel, it is not failure. It is your conscience waking up. Your comfort has run out of lies. You have reached the point where pretending hurts more than changing. This is the moment comfort feared. The moment you finally notice the corpse in the room. Not a stranger, not a victim. You. The version of you that trusted feelings more than action. The version of you that wanted life to happen without resistance. The version of you that died waiting for motivation to save them. There is no salvation in softness, only surrender. If you want resurrection, you must first accept the death. Do not mourn this corpse. It deserved to die. Excuses are tiny, insignificant, yet you let them rule you as if they were law. You built entire seasons of your life around the sentence, "Not today." You adorned it with logic. You wrapped it in justification. You made it sound responsible, sensible, rational. But every excuse shared the same infected root. You chose comfort over conquest. You convinced yourself that circumstances mattered, that the world needed to cooperate before you could begin, that your time would come. Time didn't come. Time left. It always does. You forget the most unforgiving truth. Your life doesn't pause when you do. It continues without permission. The days you waste are not neutral. They are hostile. They accumulate into evidence. They testify against you. Every abandoned goal is a recorded betrayal, a contract you tore apart with your own hands. You believe your excuses sound reasonable. Let me translate them into what they really mean. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I want improvement without inconvenience. I want to change, but not at the cost of staying the same. Because deep inside, you know the price. You always have. You looked at the toll gate between who you are and who you claim to want to be, and you walked backward. You pretended you didn't see it. You pretended the fee was unjust. You blamed luck. You blamed timing. You blamed anyone who would listen. Here is the truth beneath those layers of pretending. There is no external enemy. There never was. You have been fighting no one but your own reflection. And that reflection keeps winning. You want to know why? Because excuses are the language of a mind that has surrendered. A negotiation between fear and potential, where fear always signs first. You stand here now, not because you tried and lost, but because you never stayed long enough to earn the right to see victory. You ran every time effort raised its voice. You can lie to others. You can lie to yourself. But your life never lies. Everything around you is a scoreboard. Your body, your habits, your progress, your emptiness. All of it is data. All of it points to the same conclusion. You have been choosing weakness as if it were your native language. Excuses are not reasons. Excuses are confessions. They admit that you want the reward more than you want the responsibility. But excuses are dissolving now, melting under the heat of consciousness. The space where they lived is filling with something colder, sharper, and less forgiving. Clarity. This is the evolution of self-respect. Not hopeful, not emotional, just accurate. The era of excuses ends the moment you recognize them as lies, and you are done lying. There are two versions of you. You've always known this. You've spoken of them as if they were myth and prophecy, distant, unreal, unconnected. Version A, the self that wakes up now, soft, reactive, governed by impulses, a creature of comfort dressed in human ambition. Version B, the self you claim you want to become, precise, structured, dangerous, the architect of a life that would finally make sense. Between them sits the truth you keep avoiding. There is a price, a debt owed in effort, repetition, and sacrifice. You labeled that debt unfair because the payment was due immediately. You tried to skip the invoice. You tried to negotiate. You tried to bargain with the universe. But identity is not something you request. It is something you build in the dark, brick by brick, day by day. You mistake identity for belief, but belief is cheap. Anyone can say, I want to change. I want to be better. Belief costs breath, nothing more. Identity costs blood. Your current self clings to its flaws like armor. Your excuses protect you from exposure. Your fears keep you obedient. It is easier to remain the same than to confront the death required for transformation. Because make no mistake, change is a kind of execution. You must kill the version of yourself that depends on weakness. But you haven't killed anything. You've been negotiating with your own demons as if they deserve rights. You grant your impulses a vote. You let emotions sit at the head of the table. You forgot the primary rule of personal authority. Your mind is not a democracy. The strong voice must be the only voice. You cannot become someone new while constantly defending who you currently are. You cannot demand victory while protecting the habits that guarantee defeat. The self you dream of is not waiting for motivation. It is waiting for you to stop pretending you are powerless. Identity shifts the moment your actions become non-negotiable. Not dramatic, not emotional, just inevitable. Identity is not created in bursts of inspiration. It is formed when you act without permission from your feelings. Who you are is what you do, repeatedly. Your choices are your signature. Your consistency is the only evidence that counts. And right now, the evidence is condemning. You are the sum of what you tolerate. You are the result of every surrender. You are the current record of your own discipline, or lack of it. Identity isn't lost. It is revealed. The version of you you've been avoiding is still there, silent, unimpressed, waiting for the moment you finally understand. To become who you will respect, you must first become who you will fear. You keep confusing discipline with effort. They are not siblings. They are not even related. Effort is occasional. Effort is emotional. Effort shows up when the conditions are perfect and disappears the moment the weather changes. But discipline does not respond to weather. Discipline is weather. It arrives every day, the same, unmoved, unstoppable. You have mistaken the spark for the fire. You keep waiting for passion to drag you across the finish line. But passion is a beggar. It arrives empty-handed and expects gratitude. Discipline arrives with a weapon. It demands transformation. No applause, no inspiration, no permission. Discipline is what remains when motivation has abandoned you completely. It is the cold execution of action without the emotional ceremony. It is the difference between wanting a life and owning one. You think discipline is cruel. You think it's harsh. But the truth is, discipline is the only part of you that actually cares about your future. Everything else worships the present, the easy moment in front of you, the smallest relief, the path of least resistance. Discipline is the only honest friend you have. It tells you what you do not want to hear. It forces you to become someone your comfort would never allow. There are no fireworks here, no loud speeches. Discipline is silence, language stripped of illusion, a decision enforced by action. And yet, this is the birthplace of evolution. This is where the transformation begins. Not on the first day when everything feels exciting. On the day after, when nothing feels good. Because that is the moment where your old identity begs to live. That is the moment where you have to decide whether you will let it. Discipline does not care about your feelings. It does not ask if you are tired or afraid or uninspired. It does not measure your mood. It measures your obedience. Obedience to the future self you claim to want. Obedience to the standard you pretend you respect. Obedience to the life waiting on the other side of weakness. The truth is simple. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. And your standards are revealed in the rituals you refuse to break. One daily act, repeated without negotiation. This is the only real catalyst. This is the only doorway. Discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is a verdict. And tonight, it has been delivered. You have always assumed you were unified, a single mind, a single will. But you are a divided kingdom, a civil war wrapped in skin. There is the part of you that speaks in promises, bold, ambitious, unstoppable in theory. And then there is the part of you that wakes up in the morning. Guess which one has been winning? You have allowed weakness to wear a crown. You have treated impulses like authority. You have let temporary emotions dictate permanent outcomes. Your mind has become a courtroom where excuses serve as lawyers, and your potential never gets a fair trial. But here is what you always refuse to understand. Your feelings are not leaders. They are loud children demanding attention. The self you respect must take control, not through negotiation, through rule, through command. This is not about democracy anymore. Democracy is how you ended up here, voting with fear, choosing the easy option, electing your limitations into power. You operate as a dictatorship, a cold, absolute regime of purpose. And the weak parts of you, they are not political opponents. They are traitors, saboteurs, enemies within the walls. Do not debate them. Do not reason with them. Do not offer peace. Crush them. Rewrite their language. Burn their banners. Replace their anthem with action. When laziness speaks, interrupt it. When fear shouts, silence it. When doubt rises, drown it in evidence. Internal authority is not granted. It is seized violently. No one becomes formidable by being polite to their own weakness. Power requires cruelty, not toward others, but toward the version of you that keeps choosing to lose. Because the truth is not poetic. You are empty because you break promises to yourself. Every promise broken is a piece of identity shattered. Every surrender is a memory that warns your mind. Your word means nothing. Self-respect is not given. It is earned through discipline, through silence, through 1,000 moments where you do what is required instead of what is comfortable. This is no longer about improvement. This is about sovereignty. You must become a ruler, unchallenged, unquestioned. And rulers do not ask permission, not from comfort, not from fear, not even from themselves. There is a structure to your evolution, not mystical, not poetic, practical, precise, unforgiving. 3 layers, each one harder than the last. fail at any stage and the transformation collapses. Layer 1. Behavioral discipline. This is the simplest form. You show up. You do the task. You complete the action, even when your enthusiasm has bled out. Most never get this far. They confuse intentions with execution. They love planning more than performing. Layer 2. Emotional discipline. This is where the battle sharpens. You remain unmoved by fluctuation. You stop reacting to every inconvenience like the world owes you smooth pathways. You stop collapsing when pressure rises. Your emotions can scream, but they do not get a vote. Those who reach this layer become noticeable. They start to change. Others begin to ask how. Layer 3. Identity discipline. This is the summit. This is where the mind is forged into steel. You no longer try to be consistent. You simply are. The hard thing becomes the default baseline. Effort becomes your home. You act in alignment with the person you have chosen to become, even when no one is watching. Your life changes permanently at layer 3, not because you achieved something extraordinary, but because you finally became someone who never quits. You think greatness is some explosive moment, a breakthrough, a spark, a miracle. But greatness is boredom mastered. It is repetition without reward. It is choosing progress when the progress is invisible. You want to feel pride? Earn it. You want to feel powerful? Prove it. Identity is not built by desire. It is built by consistency, by discipline that survives every emotional assassination attempt. When you reach layer 3, you don't rise, you don't glow, you don't celebrate. You operate, because discipline is no longer what you do, it is who you are. And that is the moment the world changes, not because it suddenly rewards you, but because it finally recognizes what you have always been capable of. No applause needed, no permission granted, no softness tolerated. This is the architecture of becoming dangerous. You have given your feelings too much power. You treat them like prophets. You act as though every emotion you experience is truth. But feelings are weather, unpredictable, impulsive, and easily manipulated. You rise when they rise. You collapse when they collapse. You wait for them to give permission to change your life, as if progress should ask for your mood's approval. Let me make this painfully clear. Your feelings are irrelevant. The world does not pay you for wanting. The world does not reward your intentions. The world does not bend because you are tired or anxious or uninspired. Results are deaf. Reality is blind. Show up or stay behind. Those are your only two options. Your dependency on feelings has turned your mind into a hostage situation. Every time discomfort shows up with a gun to your ambition, you surrender. You hand over the day. You hand over your progress. You hand over the future you keep pretending you deserve. Fear speaks. You obey. Laziness whispers. You obey. Self-doubt mumbles. You obey. You call yourself a dreamer, but you're not dreaming. You're drowning in emotion and calling it depth. This is the quiet truth you've always avoided. You have built a life where your feelings hold the steering wheel, but they don't know how to drive. They only know how to crash. So here is the new rule. The law you must tattoo into your behavior. Act first. Feel later. You show up whether you want to or not. You work whether you are ready or not. You move whether you feel inspired or dead inside. Because discipline does not care if you feel like improving. Discipline is improvement. You are not meant to obey the chaos inside you. You are meant to dominate it, to silence the mutiny, to burn the flag of every emotion that has ever convinced you to delay your potential. Kill the dependency. End the negotiation. Your feelings are passengers. You are the driver. And if they scream, let them. You will take them where you're going, not where they want to go. There comes a moment in every life where the mirror stops lying, where you can no longer pretend that potential is progress, where the fantasy of someday finally chokes on its own emptiness. This is that moment, right here, right now. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just real, cold, final. You think change requires a grand awakening, a surge of energy, a sign from the universe, a new year, a new Monday. The transformation doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with a rule, one standard, one command. Simple, concrete, daily. You wake up and you do the work. No debate, no hesitation, no emotional commentary. You draw a line in the sand, and everything on the wrong side must burn. All those versions of you that loved comfort, all those versions of you that worshipped excuses, all those versions of you that surrendered to softness. They did not cross this line. They did not survive this choice. That's why this moment feels like a funeral. Something inside you is dying. The part of you that thought improvement should feel good. The version of you that depended on motivation is gasping for air. Let it suffocate. The version of you that quit when the high faded is crying out. Let it drown. The version of you that kept promising tomorrow is begging for mercy. Do not grant any. This line represents the end of negotiation, the end of waiting, the end of letting weakness vote on the direction of your life. If you cross it, there is no turning back, because discipline is not a habit, it is a transformation. Once you obey the version of yourself you respect, there is no returning to the version you despise. This is the separation, the before and after, the moment that splits your life in two. No one needs to see it. No one needs to know. History does not remember decisions. It remembers what comes after. The world is about to meet a different you, a version sculpted by consistency, sharpened by repetition, and reborn through relentless action. Step across the line, if you dare. You have been lied to about greatness. You were shown the highlight reels, the victories, the crowds, the transformation photos drenched in praise. But no one showed you the real story. Greatness is not a cinematic rise. It is a slow, silent suffocation of weakness. It is waking up to the same silence every day, doing the same work every day, fighting the same inner war every day, with no applause, no fireworks, no one watching, no one caring. You chase intensity, the rush of starting something new, the thrill of the first week, the dopamine of ambition's honeymoon phase. But the high always leaves, and when it does, you leave too. That's why you keep failing. You romanticize progress, but refuse to marry repetition. Listen carefully. The truly dangerous are not the passionate. They are the consistent. The world is filled with motivated amateurs, but the throne belongs to the bored professional. Discipline is boring, and boredom builds empires. There will be days when the work feels pointless, when progress is invisible, when nothing inside you feels alive. These are the days that matter, not the days when you feel strong, but the days when you feel nothing. Because what you do when you feel nothing is who you really are. The grind is not glamorous. It is a trench with no end in sight, a war fought in repetition and silence. There will be nobody there to tell you you're doing well. There will be nobody there to cheer when you resist the urge to quit. there will be nobody celebrating your victories in the dark. Good, because the ones who need applause never make it out of the crowd. You will only become undeniable by first becoming invisible. You will only become powerful by first becoming predictable, a creature of pure discipline. Your transformation is not a moment. It is a long, quiet killing of your weaker selves, one unremarkable day at a time. Most people never make it past boredom. They need their improvement to feel exciting. They need the dopamine to hold their hand. You are not most people. Let the boredom come. Let it choke the noise. Let it strip everything down to one decision. Do the work again and again and again. Until consistency becomes instinct, and instinct becomes identity, and identity becomes power. Quiet, cold, unquestionable. There is a reason you feel honor, a reason you look at yourself and sense something missing, like a structure meant to bear weight, but built with cheap materials. You think the void comes from failure. You think the emptiness comes from not having enough. But the truth is far more intimate. You are empty because you break promises to yourself. You swear you'll change, and then you don't. You swear you'll show up, and then you disappear. You swear this time will be different, and then you watch yourself rerun the same old loops, like a prisoner guarding their own cage. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," your identity hears one thing: my word means nothing. That is the real wound, not the failure, the betrayal. You learned long ago that other people's promises can break, but now you have taught yourself that your promises break too, and that lesson is lethal, because without self-respect, discipline has no foundation. Commitment has no spine. Ambition has no teeth. Life does not destroy people. Their doubt does. Their inconsistency does. Their inability to trust themselves does. You are not fighting the world. You are fighting the voice inside you that whispers, "You have never followed through." So let's clarify the battlefield. There are no enemies outside. Not yet. The enemy is internal. An imposter wearing your face. The version of you that survives by refusing to evolve. They feed on hesitation. They thrive on surrender. They stay alive every time you break a promise. This is not about motivation anymore. This is about honor, about whether you are someone worth obeying. Your respect for yourself is not built with affirmations. It is built with evidence. Evidence that you command and you obey. Evidence that you speak and you act. Evidence that discomfort does not decide your life. A single, non-negotiable standard, done daily, is how you begin the war. Not for perfection, not for applause, for credibility, so that your mind can finally believe your mouth, so that your identity can finally trust your intentions, so that when you say you will do something, the universe knows a storm is coming. You want self-respect. Earn it. Relentlessly, quietly, without asking for a witness. One promise kept at a time, until you fear breaking your own word more than you fear hard work. That is when weakness dies. That is when power takes the throne. That is when you become someone you would follow into war. This is the moment where everything inside you goes quiet. Not because you have found peace, but because you have found conviction. You finally understand. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is being immune to yourself. When laziness begs, you ignore it. When fear screams, you silence it. When excuses rise, you crush them without discussion. No democracy, no negotiation, no softness. This is a new regime. Internal, absolute. You are not waiting for permission anymore. You are the permission. The part of you that once demanded comfort has been stripped of power. The part of you that once worshipped motivation has been dethroned. The part of you that once begged for the path to feel easy has been executed. In their place stands something colder, something cleaner, something that doesn't tremble when life becomes sharp. Discipline. And discipline does not hope you will win. Discipline expects it, because now you move without applause, without inspiration, without reward. You move because you command it, and the body obeys. This is what internal power truly is. A dictatorship of purpose, a tyranny of improvement, a mind that refuses to surrender to the chaos of feelings. Cold empowerment is not a roar. It is the silence after the decision, the certainty that you will show up again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, until reality bends and identity bows. Everything you have, everything you lack, is a direct result of what you were willing or unwilling to do repeatedly. But that era is over now. The weak version of you has been buried. Your comfort has lost its crown. Your excuses have lost their tongue. You do not chase transformation anymore. you enforce it. Your actions are no longer requests, they are orders. Purpose is now your only religion, and discipline is the only God you kneel to. Welcome to the other side, where you are not motivated, where you are not inspired, where you are inevitable, because the world does not need a happier you, or a softer you, or a more excited you. It needs a colder, stronger, more disciplined one.